The data supports that opportunities with partners attached are better and stronger opportunities. We've seen partner deals close at up to double the rate as deals without a partner, close with higher deal values, and in a lot of cases, close faster. As you're building out a nearbound motion, the 5 phases start with what partners to onboard and how are you effectively onboarding partners into your company, into your partner tech stack, into your sales tech stack. Then you dive into the data that you're exposed to. Surfacing the insights is really where sales and sales leadership get more heavily involved. Then going into the taking action phase. What do you actually do with the data once it's been put in front of you? How do we actually turn this into measurable outcomes? And then, of course, the 5th phase is measure, coach, and iterate. How are we performing? How is this working? What do we need to do differently? I think most sales leaders out there understand, I know what my outbound playbook looks like. I understand what my inbound playbook looks like, but what the heck is this nearbound thing and where do I fill a role? And I think the best way for sales leaders or frankly anyone to understand nearbound is the activities that happen across the go-to-market teams in conjunction with what's happening in the partner organization. How do nearbound activities play a role in daily dashboards? How do nearbound activities play a role in pipe reviews and forecast calls? All of these things are responsibilities of a sales leader because just like you've built these motions for inbound, just like you've built these motions for outbound, you need to have these motions clearly defined for nearbound. Yeah, I think in phase 1, onboarding partners, sales leadership can certainly play a role in determining who are the partners that we want to prioritize as a business. Sales leaders, as well as their frontline reps, have a lot of exposure to what the customer needs and what the customer wants, or what the buyer needs, what the buyer wants. I think that the best way to do that is by keeping an open feedback loop with the partner organization. If you as a sales leader don't already have a standing meeting with your partner team, then that's sort of step 1, right? Make sure you have that feedback loop with your partner team. And then once you have that, being able to contribute feedback to that channel becomes a responsibility of you as a sales leader. And part of that is making sure that your partner team understands what your reps are hearing on the front lines within the feedback channel. Usually what I've seen is a lot of partner teams delivering information to sales teams and sales leadership, and it's very rarely a back and forth. And so being able to understand from gong recordings what you're seeing as other participants, other players in the deal cycle, and making sure that the partner team is aware of these are our highest priority deals, and this type of partner or this type of technology is showing itself in 90% of our deals. Are we partnered there? What would it mean if we could close this deal and go to them and say, we have these common customers. Why don't we do more of this together? Any insights and any direct feedback from the field and the conversations that are being had, partner reps don't always have access to that data. That is your responsibility. How do you help your partner teams build better partnerships? And then in turn, how do they deliver value by helping you open and close more pipeline through nearbound activities? Any sales leader that is investing in the development of their team and in pursuit of hitting goals and growing their business is going to want to look at all data that can help them do those things. I think that there is, though, a process that partner leaders and partner managers are taking to ensure that the data that we're delivering to the company is reliable. And so getting into that data too fast as a sales leader, or sort of jumping in head first without fully understanding what to do with it, can actually be detriment, right? And so it's really about, I think, just probably not moving too quickly, even if you've been exposed to data, for example, what Reveal is able to provide within CRM. Don't jump too quickly. It's probably the what not to do in that phase 2. This is really where partner teams are bringing what they've uncovered in phase 2 to the sales teams and saying, this is our opportunity. How do we attack it together? And making sure that as a sales leader, your primary objective in solving for enterprise value is helping your reps understand why this is important in the first place and how to think about using this data to get to the number, to achieve targets, to drive growth. Because I think that sales leaders have to be able to zoom out and see all of the other ways to support and guide their reps toward successful outcomes. And to me, solving for enterprise value means exactly that. Thinking bigger than your quarterly goal or your annual goal. It means, what can we do to innovate? That has to come from the sales leadership level. It's not going to necessarily come at that frontline sales rep level. It's really forcing yourself or holding yourself accountable as a sales leader to look beyond the daily dashboard, look beyond the deals in the pipeline, and what can I do to solve really for the long term more than anything else. Okay, well, I'm looking at my target list. I'm doing account planning with all of my reps. If my sellers aren't considerate of the data that's being presented to them about where are relationships already built within our partner ecosystem, we're doing a disservice. Somebody has to hold the sales organization accountable to these motions and using this data, and then also be able to articulate. Partners don't cheapen deals. Partners are absolutely a contributor to your success as a sales organization. And the more that you nurture those relationships from the sales side of the business, the better the outcomes will be through those engagements. A lot of sales organizations, when it comes to partnerships, have the wrong attitude. And attitude is everything in being an ecosystem forward organization. Too often, when a partner leader or a partner rep approaches a sales leader or a sales rep, the natural reaction is to recoil, to pull back, to protect. This is my account. And the reality is that partnerships are about winning together. And what's really exciting about what's emerging here is that statistically, we've seen partner deals where there is a partner attached, close at up to double the rate, close with higher deal values, and in a lot of cases, close faster. The data supports that opportunities with partners attached are better and stronger opportunities than those without. The sales leaders being able to understand what nearbound data represents as a greater opportunity to drive more pipeline, to move more pipeline, to close more pipeline. The sales organization needs to understand and assume that when a partner team is reaching out as it relates to specific accounts, it's not to steal anything, but it's instead to help. And that assumption really changes the attitude of all of the engagements that are to follow, and how to actually turn these internal conversations into successful outcomes where everybody involved is able to win. First and foremost, the data, if it lives in one of these account mapping solutions like Reveal, the expectation that a sales leader or a sales rep is going to log into Reveal and then take action against this data is unrealistic. It's a strategic imperative, frankly, for partner teams to ensure that all of these rich insights that we're sharing in phase 3 are making it to the place where sales lives every day. So that's absolutely step 1. Is your account mapping data in the place that your sellers live every day? We don't need to add another tool to the plate of where they need to log in and what they need to do when they're there. Once you have the data living in the place where sellers live every day, so let's just assume a lot of that time is spent in CRM, it's not enough to just have Reveal or account mapping data living in CRM. Having the widget present in your Salesforce instance, for example, isn't enough for a salesperson to know what to do with it. Okay, this is interesting that I see partner A has this account as a customer and has for the last 4 years. What do I do with that? So at the sales leader level, it's absolutely a responsibility to build the playbooks to guide your sellers to using that data effectively. And if you think about a sales leader's primary set of responsibilities, big part of it is how do you hire talent? How do you develop talent, and how do you retain talent? And that developing of talent really lives in being able to guide them through situations like, how do you think about using these insights that you're seeing to achieve your goals, to drive your outcomes? So phase 4, taking action, it's really to bring the data to life. We've gone through the steps of getting the right partners onboarded. We've gone through understanding what data to surface. We've started those internal conversations about what are we showing you as far as the data and the opportunity here. Now it's time to put those insights to work. And as a sales leader in this taking action phase, it's really important that you play an active role. Too often I've seen sales leaders only get involved in partner conversations when something's wrong, because for some reason there's this level of protectiveness, and the sales leader tends to come in and says, no, we're not doing it this way, know your role. But the reality is that everybody is working together to sell to these accounts. And I think that too often there isn't a positive and proactive relationship being developed between a sales manager or a sales director and the partner organization and their counterparts in that organization. So to me, this take action phase, of course, we're talking about getting in and starting to open pipeline together and doing the things that are going to lead to outcomes. But there's a responsibility of the sales leader to take action in terms of building a relationship with that partner. And it can't wait until something goes wrong. Yeah, so phase 5, measure, coach, and iterate. In this phase, sales leaders probably play the most important role. If you look at all roles across phase 5 and who needs to be involved, I'd say that sales leadership is incredibly important in this phase for what feel probably like obvious reasons. The measurement of what you are seeing in the field, how are partners contributing to opening pipeline, how are partners contributing to moving and closing pipeline, what are we seeing in terms of our deal sizes or win rates, are those improving, those not improving? And so that's the measurement component that we would all expect. It might be interesting to see other data points or other KPIs within the nearbound activity that are worth paying attention to on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. So innovating here, I also think is an interesting opportunity. The accountability factor is huge here. We might have a CRO or an SVP that believes in the vision of nearbound, but when it gets down to the level of frontline managers or even directors, at least in B2B SaaS, those high-level mandates don't necessarily make it down to what the activities need to be in order to execute consistently and at a high level. So finding ways to ensure a certain percentage of deals have partner attach rate on them, because we know that they yield this type of deal or this faster closing of a deal. Being able to look across your forecasting calls and your pipeline reviews and understand, well, there aren't partners attached here and there's risk in these deals. Here are the partners that have relationships with these accounts. Why aren't they involved? What have you done to incorporate that partner? What have you learned from talking to that partner? At an absolute minimal level, a sales manager's responsibility in these types of calls is to hold that rep accountable, going and doing all of the activities that are likely to lead to a positive outcome at the end of the deal cycle. Informally, being able to celebrate the wins is a motion we see sales leaders executing all the time. They're celebrating their reps and they're celebrating the deals, and they're making sure that the company understands all the hard work that went in to the positive outcome. Often, however, we don't necessarily see those sales leaders celebrating the wins of the partners that were involved or the partner team involved in that deal. I feel as though a lot of folks in sales leadership feel that partner involvement cheapens the win a little bit. But the reality is there's all this team selling going on across the organization internally, from C-level involvement to solutions architects and engineers to CS to marketing. All of these go-to-market roles are helping to close these deals, and the gratitude of how these deals came to be is shouted from the rooftops. But yet partners aren't included in that narrative so often. And it's time that, from a celebrating of wins standpoint, that partners and partner involvement is absolutely on the tip of every sales leader's tongue when they're saying, how did that deal get won? And I think that leads us into more formal opportunities to reinforce partner attach and nearbound activities, in the sense of, if you want to get your annual accelerator or you want to make President's Club, you need to see a certain partner attach rate across all of your deals. There are ways to incentivize the comp structure to ensure that partners are being involved, or there are certain partner activities that are being mandated across the sales organization. So in any way that sales org is designing compensation plans to motivate the activities that they statistically see lead to more closed won revenue, that the nearbound activities are incorporated into those comp plans. Making sure that the sellers and the frontline folks don't have any competition for involving a partner in their deal. So if a sales rep is comped on selling professional services, well, how are they also comped on a partner's professional services being delivered on that opportunity? Or if the business are paying a revenue share to partners for sourced or influenced deals, making sure that that margin is not coming out of the compensation of the sales rep against their quota or against their variable comp. Thinking about the annual incentives like a President's Club, being able to tie partner attach to the qualifiers for making that trip, as just a few examples of how to think through the compensation structure to incorporate nearbound, to drive the right outcomes that we all know help drive growth across the organization. The playbook's not always going to work. It's not always going to yield the results right away that you're looking for. But the compounding effect of this leads to iterations to the process. And if a sales leader isn't saying, this isn't working, which is what we hear a lot of, without a suggested solution to follow, then they're not really trying to improve this motion for the benefit of the organization. But I do believe sales leaders can come and say, this isn't working, here's why, here's what I would like to do differently. And if that is a statement that is consistent and it's not done in a way that is contentious, but instead collaborative, you really have something there, if that's the attitude that your sales leader is bringing when they're delivering feedback. So those are the 5 phases. Onboard partners, dig into the data, share the insights, take action, and measure, coach, and iterate.